All right. Yes, yeah. Before I get started with some bit of admin work, I just want to check. So you guys still don't have your timetables yet? Is that correct? Still don't have a timetable? Is that correct? Just give me a thumbs up if you don't have a timetable. All right, not a problem. Yes. Before we get on to the content for today, I just want to re-emphasize that, guys, management economics, it's a hybrid, implying that they are face-to-face classes as well as online classes. Today was supposed to be face-to-face, but some, yes, maybe because they're located far, they couldn't be available for class, so I decided to make it online. However, on the 15th, it's going to be your test one. You have to come to the venue and write. I think the 15th is going to be 15th of August. I think it's going to be during a weekend. Yeah, let me just cross check one more time. I think your test one, let me just confirm quickly. When I confirm the date of your test one, yeah, your semester test one is on the 15th of August, and the 15th of August, it will be on a Saturday. So for that, you would need to show up in the venue. The venue, I'm gonna make announcement I'm gonna make the announcement for the test details, but you will probably you'll need to show up in the venue for that on the 15th of August. And a week before that, on the 8th of August, we will have a workshop. Like I did say in my first class, we do have workshops. So these workshops are designed to give us a face-to-face interface. It's probably going to be like an hour, 30 minutes to 2 hours, the workshop. So the workshop is to prepare you for the assessment that you're going to write. So I will make both announcements. On the 7th, it's going to be your workshop. I haven't communicated this to the Bunting group. I will do so. But on the 7th, we're going to have a workshop. Then on the 15th, that's when your test one is there. So all the sessions will be on a weekend. They'll be on a weekend scheduled for around, I think, 9. I will check the time for your assessment. But the time for the workshop, I can amend it and make it 10. But for assessments, it is set up by UJ probably between 9 and 11. But I'll make those announcements. But the point of this is to tell you that we will have to meet up face to face for your assessment and for your workshop. And these will be scheduled on the Saturday of the 7th. And the test one will be on the 15th of August. Are you guys comfortable with that administrative stuff before we get on to the content for today? Are you guys comfortable with that? If you are, give me a thumbs up. Are you guys comfortable with that before I get started? If you have any questions, you can raise your hand up. It's either you can raise your hand up or you can give me a thumbs up if you're happy with what I've just said. You guys good? Just going to wait for your feedback first before we go ahead. Yeah, but as with the test, you have to, I think you probably have to apply. Yeah, you probably have to apply for the test because your test date is scheduled for that day. So I do get some students can be working some days, but you need to apply maybe for study leave where you work if they do, because definitely according to UJ timetable, your test date has been set up for Saturday. That'll be Saturday 15th. That's the timetable done for UJ. Okay. Yeah, so please apply for leave. You can check our study guides for the dates. The one date I'll amend maybe is for test 2 leave, but for test 1, if you can apply for leave in advance, please do, because that one needs to be on the venue, which I'm going to announce. So definitely on the 15th, you have to be there. You can ask one of your classmates, if you know them, to probably record whatever I'm going to say on the workshop if you're not able to make it. But definitely for the test, it will be on a Saturday. You'll be needed for that. Are you comfortable with that, Lefa? Are you good with that, Lefa? All right, perfect. So let's get started. So last week we did the introductions. Yeah, we didn't do a lot. It was just a bit of introductions on stuff that you might expect. So today we're going to take it a bit further. Yeah, but before I do that, let's just do a quick revision of the important questions. So yeah, before I even go there, guys, just to check again, do you guys have the textbook? How many of you have the textbook? Does anyone have a textbook? Because you really need this textbook, guys. I did notice in my bunting class. Yeah, no one yet has gotten the textbook. But do you guys have the textbook yet? Do you guys have the textbook? Just to confirm. Does anyone have the textbook? If you have the textbook, you can give me a thumbs up. Does anyone have a textbook from this group, guys? Do you guys have the textbook? So all of you don't have the textbook. Can I take it as if all of you don't have the textbook? Is that a yes? If you don't have a textbook, let me just check. Raise your hand up. Let's see how many people are going to raise their hand up. If you don't have a textbook, raise your hand up. Oh, all right. That sounds like almost all of you there. All right, guys. Let me re-emphasize. Guys, this module, you will not pass it if you don't have the textbook, guys. It's not optional to have a textbook. I'm not just saying stuff out of just saying it for the sake of saying it. If you are lying straight on the slides and you don't have the textbook, you will not pass this module. I emphasize again, guys, get the textbook. The slides are just a summary of the things that you need to know, especially if you know you have never done economics before. Without doubt, you really need the textbook because it will broaden your understanding. I know it seems a bit far, but 15th is just around the corner. And you don't want to panic last minute when you're about to write. Then you're panicking, you don't know what to touch, you don't have the textbook, you don't understand what's going on. And that'll be the last minute. It's really difficult for me to do anything to assist you there if you don't have the textbook. So I will re-emphasize that what I did with my bunting group, guys. Please get the textbook. It's not an optional thing where you have to think and weigh the pros and cons and say maybe it's expensive or think about something. If you don't get this textbook, guys, it is gonna make it difficult for you guys to pass. I am aware that majority of you are probably working. So if you're working, it means you need that textbook. Weekends, you go through the content, you understand, because there's a lot of new economics is a galaxy, it's a new language. There's a lot of new terms that you're going to learn here. So if you don't get the textbook, you're making it extremely difficult. You're putting yourself at a disadvantage for you to pass this module. So I emphasize, you might not have some stuff, maybe the administrative stuff, you don't have the timetable and everything. But I emphasize, guys, please get the textbook. If you really want to pass this module, get the textbook. You don't want test one to be your wake-up call. After maybe test one has gone bad, you're like, maybe I do need a textbook. Don't wait that long. I've been facilitating this module for a while, and one thing I can guarantee you is if you don't have a textbook, you're making your life increasingly hard. So to make it simple, get the textbook, start practicing on the questions, such that when I set the test, it's not something new. You've already been practicing. Are we clear on that, guys? Are you comfortable with that? If you are good, give me a thumbs up. Yeah, I can see, Amen, you have a hand up. I don't know if it's a question or it's still there. And also, it's and who else? The two people with the hands up. I don't know if those are questions. And Lefford, are those questions or you will say you just raising your hand that you don't have a textbook? Are these questions? If I do you have a question? And Vinkos, are you comfortable? Do you have a question? All right, cool. All right, it's cool. I can see it's to do with that. But are you guys getting the urgency of the textbook? If you understand me before I proceed, give me a thumbs up, guys, so that I know we are on the right track, all of us. If you're good to go, give me a thumbs up. Just need three of you to confirm. So make sure, guys, you get that textbook. It is really important. Without that textbook, your life is going to be challenging here. So make it easy by getting the textbook. All right, let's start. I'm going to go to my slides. Yeah, there are a few concepts that I want us to practice before we go forward from what we did last week. So that's where I'm going to start, more like a mini revision of what we did before. So last week we did this, the basic concepts in economics. We looked at the economic means. We talked about unemployment rate. We talked about, I'm going to go through the slides. And guys, I require participation. So I will ask you questions. So be on your toes. In my class, as we have seen in our first class, I like students to engage. So I will ask you questions. So I want you to engage. Economics is a practical subject. The more you engage, the easier it becomes. So I encourage you to engage. So be ready to engage. So we showed what inequality is. We talked about the Gini coefficient. Then a few questions for us to get started on this. All right. So there's an activity just as a revision. So activity 13 wants us to talk about the possible macroeconomic concerns. That's what this activity is all about. So this is an example of the questions that you might be faced there in your test. So you need to be comfortable with these sort of questions. All right. So let me talk about the difference between the macro and microeconomic concern. So micro with an MI, these are concerns within individual markets or segments of the markets. That's your micro concern. So when we're talking about macro concerns, we're talking about economic aggregates, we're talking about unemployment, we're talking about GDP, all those variables that talk about economic aggregates, those are macroeconomic concerns. So that's the difference between macro and microeconomic concerns there. All right, guys, there's a small activity for us to try there. So you have to agree or disagree the following given information, whether that's a macro or micro given concern. So the first one, judging by what I've just mentioned, wage rates of maize farm workers in the Limpopo province. So what do you guys think? Is that micro or macro? Who wants to try? You can type it on the chat box. Wage rates of maize farmers in Limpopo. Do you think, what you guys think? Is that a micro or macro concern? Who wants to try? So based on the definitions that I've just given you, that macro, it's economic aggregates, and micro with an MI, it's individual markets. So who wants to try that one? Micro. All right. Perfect. So you disagree with that one. Yeah, you disagree with that one. It's a micro. So you agree or disagree whether those are macroeconomic concerns. So with your answer, since you're saying it's micro, number one is disagree, which I agree. Number two, the slump in the demand for new motor car vehicles. Do you agree or disagree that it is a macroeconomic concern, that one? Do you agree or disagree? Is it a micro or is it a macro concern? Do you agree or disagree that one? The slump for demand for new motor vehicles. What is that one, guys? Do you agree or disagree? It's a macro concern. So if you agree, or micro. All right, that is correct. But remember, we'll put Tokozana. I was about to say that. I was about to say if you disagree, if it's a micro concern, you write disagree. Yeah, the answer is disagree. That is a micro concern, correct? Let's move on to the next one. The increase in the cost of factors of production in the manufacturing sector. Agree or disagree there? Is that a macroeconomic concern? Agree or disagree there? Any takers on that one? What do you guys think on that one? Agree or disagree with that one? Okay, have a disagree. Let's see who else is an answer. Another disagree. Yes, it is disagree. That one is not a macro concern, it is a micro concern because we're still talking about the cost of factors of production. And number 4, increases in the official employment rate in South Africa. Is that a macroeconomic concern? Do you guys agree or disagree with that one? Is that a macroeconomic concern there? Do you guys agree or disagree with that one? Is that a macroeconomic concern? Number 4, increases in the official employment rate in South Africa. Do you guys think about that one? Well, then agree. Yes, that's a macroeconomic concern because we're talking about an economic aggregate, which is an official unemployment rate. Then finally, slump in the imports of textile. Is that a macroeconomic concern? Do you guys agree or disagree with that one? What about that one? Do you guys agree or disagree there? I have a disagree. Anyone else? Anyone else on that one? The last one? Is that an agree? Or is that a disagree? I have a disagree from Tokozani. Katisa is on an agree. Okay, Katisa is agreeing. Yeah, the correct answer for that one is disagree. So these are our answers there. So with the wage rate, we are looking at the wage rate of the workers. That's an individual market. So we disagree. Also, the slump is the demand of a new motor vehicle market. We disagree because it's a motor vehicle market. Also, with the increase in cost of production, we disagree because it's cost of production within the manufacturing. Number 4, we agreed. And number 5, slump in the import of textiles. Textile is an industry. Are you guys comfortable with that? Any questions on that activity? So those are some of the questions that you can do. Any questions there? If you are good to go, give me a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, there are some activities as well in your Moglo. You can go try them out. That are important. That will get you prepped for the test. Micro, it's individual markets, Asive, and macro, it's economic aggregates. Micro, it's demand and supply, individual markets, while macro, it's economic aggregates. So you really need to get that textbook. It gives you a broad distinction of that, but micro is individual markets, demand and supply, while macro, we're talking about economic aggregates like your inflation, unemployment, GDP, etc. Are you comfortable with that one, Asive? Are you comfortable with that one? All right. Then let's go on to another question. So we talked about the 5 macroeconomic objectives in the previous class. Who's ready to give me? Yeah. Can you guys, are you ready to type in the 5 macroeconomic objectives we covered in our previous class, guys? What are the 5 macroeconomic objectives? Do I have any takers? What are the 5 macroeconomic objectives that we covered in our previous class? Do you have any takers, guys, who wants to try? Can type them out. Any volunteers? What are the 5 macroeconomic objectives? Because you need them for this activity. Because this activity is asking you which of the following are the possible macroeconomic objectives. So if you don't know the macroeconomic objectives, it means you won't be able to answer that one. So yeah, let's get started. What are the 5 macroeconomic objectives? Yeah, anyone can just type in the one that they know. Yeah, let's go, guys. What are the 5 macroeconomic objectives? You can type.
Can I give it a try, sir?
Yes, you can go ahead.
It's high and sustained economic growth, and we have high employment. And the third one, it's price stability.
Mm-hmm.
The fourth one is the balance of payment.
Mm-hmm.
And the fifth one is equitable distribution of income.
Yeah, well done, Asive. Well done. Those are the 5 macroeconomic objectives. So it's high sustainable economic growth, full employment of resources, then price stability, as you mentioned, then equal distribution of income, and a balance of payments stability. We talk about external balance of payments. So those are the 5 macroeconomic objectives. Well done for that one, Asive. So given that, guys, we have to indicate those descriptions if those pertain to macroeconomic objectives or not. So the first one is increasing the rate of growth in real GDP from 1.5% to 2% per annum. Is that a macroeconomic objective? Do you agree or disagree there? Is that one of the possible macroeconomic objectives? Do we agree or disagree there? You can type the answers on the chat box. Given the 5 macroeconomic objectives that Asive gave us, can you see these being part of those? So the first one there is increasing rate of growth, real GDP from 1.5 to 2%. Okay. If one agree, yes, we agree. So that one is high and sustainable economic growth. So we agree. That's one of the possible macroeconomic objectives. Then number 2, we have spending more money on the expansion of the manufacturing sector. Is that a macroeconomic objective or not? Wants to try that one? Is that a macroeconomic objective or not? Spending more money on the expansion of the manufacturing sector. Do we agree or disagree with that one? Wants to try? Spending more money in the manufacturing sector. Do we agree or not that that is a macroeconomic objective? Disagree. Yes, agree. Yes, disagree that one. Spending more money on the expansion of the manufacturing sector is not one of the 5 macroeconomic objectives. Yep. Keeping the rate of growth in inflation with the current target rate as set by the South African Reserve Bank. Is that one of the, do we agree or disagree that that's one of the 5 macroeconomic objectives there? What about that one? Do we agree on that one, guys? Or disagree on that one? Keeping the rate of growth. Yeah, we agree. We agree. Keeping the rate of growth. We definitely agree on that one. That's the macroeconomic objectives of reducing inflation, right? Then finally, reducing the official rate of unemployment from 27 to 23% in the medium term. Is that one of the, do you agree that's one of the macroeconomic objectives or not? The last one, reducing the official unemployment rate. Do we agree or disagree with that one? Is that one of the 5 macroeconomic objectives or not? That one? Agree, right? Yes, part of the 5 macroeconomic objectives there. So those are our macroeconomic objectives there. You need to know them there. They're very, very important. I will test you upon them. Yeah, there are some further activities that you look into in Moglu if you see them. We also looked at ways to measure the problem of scarcity. We mentioned this. We talked about production. We covered this in brief. Then we looked at these graphs about your expenditure budget deficit. We looked at this, the date of ESCOM expanding. Then we introduced some concepts like your monetary policy and fiscal policy. Then we talked about this. All right, now we're going to look into detail in the content that we're going to cover today. We're going to go a bit deeper in this and get some calculators ready because we will do a bit of calculations here. Our calculations start on this chapter, so you need to be comfortable with this. So before we get into the calculations, we're going to start with the circular flow of income. So with the circular flow of income, it shows us how money flows in an economy. So it's a very important concept in economics, this one, the circular flow of income. It shows us how money moves between households and firms. So as you can see there, we have households to your left and firms to your right. So what's happening there is we have an arrow which is moving from firms to households, which is a solid arrow. That one represents a real flow of goods. Then we have a dotted arrow from both firms and households. So the dotted arrow represents the flow of funds. So we're going to start on when you talk about your firms. So your firms produce the output, which is given by Y. So these are the goods and services which are produced by a firm. So firms produce the output to the households. Then in turn, the households pay for those goods and services. So that is shown by a dotted arrow from the houses to a firm. That is the flow of money when people are buying the goods and services. So the bottom part of your circular flow, there where you have your output, it is when firms sell their output, which is shown by an arrow originating from firms to households, then households paying for those, which is shown by a dotted monetary flow from households to firms. Then, not only that, up top there, you have your factors of production. So your firms there, they're offering their services, which is factors of production. So they offer their services to firms. That's a solid arrow. In return, those firms pay their households wages. So that is your movement of funds. So above, you have people rendering their services to work for these companies. Those are the flows above. Then you have interactions of the households and the firms in a different markets there. There is the financial sector. So when you talk about the financial sector, we're talking about banks or those financial institutions that take our savings and extend them to businesses as loans. So that's your financial sector. So there are two flows there, savings and investment. We make our savings and businesses go to get loans, which are investments. Also in the public sector, we are talking about the government. So government taxes people to raise funds and they spend in an economy to stimulate economic activity. So that one is called the public sector, to do with government spending and taxation. Then we have the foreign sector, which has to do with imports and your exports. So very important things to note there, that you have your injections and leakages. Injections are things that put your money within the circular flow. They further inject money, as the name suggests. So with your injections, you have your investments, you have your government spending, and you have your exports. Leakages, on the other hand, are things that result in the money leaving the circular flow of income, like your savings, taxation, and imports. So leakages are things that result in money leaving the circular flow. Those are leakages. Value injections are things that add money into the circular flow of income. So you have your injections and your savings there. Very important to note. Then let's talk about equilibrium. So equilibrium is reached when your injections is equal to savings. So if you take your when injections are equal to leakages. So looking at the diagram, we have the left where you have your leakages, then to the right where you have your injections. So it means savings plus taxation plus imports. This is equal to injections of investments, government spending, and exports if we're in an equilibrium. So just to repeat that one more time, in equilibrium, your injections, it is equals to leakages. So the leakages are on the left-hand side. Those are your savings. So your savings plus taxation plus imports. This is equal to your injections, which are investments, government spending, and exports if we are sitting at an equilibrium. Are you guys comfortable with that? So when we are at an equilibrium, your leakage is equals to injections. Are you guys comfortable with that description there? Are there any questions there? Are you guys comfortable with that one? If you are, give me a thumbs up. If you have a question, let me know. Yes, I think there's a hand up from, who's that? Hosani, do you have a hand up? Go ahead.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. Can you please repeat for me the injection? You said is when injection put money within your circular flow.
Yes, when money
Yes,
enters the circular flow of income, those are injections. Mhm.
yes. And then you make an example there of
Yeah,
which is very nice.
all those variables on your right hand side, investments, government spending, and
Okay,
exports on the right hand side of your diagram.
okay. Thank you.
All right. The leakages are things that result in money leaving your circular flow of income, like your imports, taxations, and saving. So when you're at an equilibriums, your savings is equals to leakages. Also, let's look at a few things there. So you have what is called your financial sector equilibrium. So with your financial sector equilibrium, your savings is equals to investment. So that's a very important thing to know. So if we have an equilibrium within the if you have an equilibrium in the financial sector, it means your savings is equals to investments. Very important thing to note there. Then as well, we have an equilibrium within the public sector. So when you talk about your public sector equilibrium, this is where we're looking at government expenditure versus your taxation. So if you have a public sector equilibrium, it means government expenditure is equal to taxation. So very important to note there that we'll be looking at your government expenditure and your taxation. So very key thing to note there. So when we are at an equilibrium, public sector equilibrium, it means government expenditure, the amount that the government spends. This one is equal to the taxes. So you need to be comfortable with that one. Then as well, we have what's the other one? The last one is the foreign sector equilibrium. This one is almost like your balance of payments, where your exports is equals to imports. So those are things that are important that you guys need to know there in as far as that one is concerned. So those are the equilibriums, and I've just mentioned how those interact. Are there any questions before I move forward to our next session? Are there any questions there, guys? Are you comfortable with that? If you are, give me a thumbs up if you're comfortable with that. All right. Then let's look at the first macroeconomic objective, which we're going to look at in detail, which is your inflation. So when you talk about inflation, we're not only just talking about the price of one good increasing, but it is the persistent increase in the general price level. So it means all the products right across the board are probably increasing the price. That's what we term inflation. So it's not just one product increasing, but products right across the board that are increasing. So that's something that's good that we need to know about that. When your prices are increasing, that is what we term inflation, not just the price of one good. As well, if we want to measure inflation, there is something that is called a consumer price index. So your consumer price index is a basket of representative goods and services. So these measure the standard of living. That's what the CPI is all about. So the CPI measures the standard of living. So with the consumer price index, we put codes you see here. These are the goods that make up your CPI. So there are a number of goods and services that people typically spend money on, and these reflect the cost of living in South Africa. So these make up your consumer price index. That is an example. When you look at recreation, when you look at alcohol beverages, health, amount spent on restaurants. So this is more or less like your proxy, even accommodation. Those amounts of the items on the CPI, that's a proxy of how much people are spending money on the standard of living in SA. So as a result, if you want to measure inflation, you can measure inflation by changes in your CPI, right? So very important thing to note. And we have our first formula there. So when we calculate inflation, it's basically the changes in CPI. That's how we measure inflation. Changes in CPI, how? It's your all new CPI minus the old CPI, then divided by initial CPI. That gives you inflation level. So I can give you a consumer price index of 2008 and probably give you a CPI index of 2009. So how do we calculate the inflation there? You say new, which is the CPI for 2009, minus the old CPI of 2008 divided by the old CPI of 2008 multiplied by 100. Almost similar mathematically to how you would calculate a percentage increase in price. Let's say the price of bread, if it was initially 5 rand, it increased to 8 rand. You see 8 minus 5 divided by 5, you discover that the price of bread increased by what? I think there will be 8 minus 5 divided by 5. It will increase by 60%. That's how we calculate that increase. So how you calculate a simple percentage increase in arithmetic terms is the same way how you'd calculate your percentage change in CPI to calculate your inflation level. Are you guys comfortable with that? Before I proceed, before I give you some questions to do, are you guys comfortable with that? Are you able to calculate the percentage increase and are you happy with that formula? If you are, you can give me a thumbs up before I give you a few questions to compute. Are you guys comfortable with that? Give me a thumbs up if you are, or if you have a question, raise your hand up, then I'll address it. All right, cool. You guys are good. So let's do this now. So we have these indexes that are showing. So with what I've just given you, can you guys calculate for me the inflation between 2009 and 2008? With the formulas and the explanation that I gave you there, can you guys calculate for me the inflation for 2008, 2009? Can you calculate for me that rate of inflation? Yeah, can you calculate for me? I'll wait for your answers. What is your rate of inflation between 2008 2009? Can you calculate it and let me know? Yeah, you can type your answers if you have it. I'm just waiting for your answers on that one. Are you guys ready for that one? Zero 0.3. Is that a percentage, Asive? Is that a percentage? All right. Who wants to tell us how they did it? Who's volunteering? Who wants to take us through the calculation before we move on? Yeah, it must be in percentage, Daviseng. Who wants to take us through the calculation before we move on? Yeah, any takers? Yeah, the answer is correct. 0.3%. Yes. Who wants to take us through the calculation? Yeah, so the answer, so most of you got the answer correctly. But who wants to take us through the calculation? Do you have any takers there? Who wants to take us through that calculation? You are correct, 0.3%. Who wants to take us through that calculation, guys? Any takers? Yes, Daviseng can take us through the calculation there.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, class. I'm just trying, sir. I'm not sure. I think
Yes,
it's
go for it. Mhm.
you're gonna take the new CPI, you minus it with the old one. It's 100 minus 99.7.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna get, let me just do this. Then you're gonna get 0.3 somewhere there.
Mhm.
And then you wanna divide it by the old CPI, which is 99.7, and it gives you 0.003 and other numbers, and then you
Mhm.
multiply it by 100, and that's how you get the 0.30.
All right. I'm happy with that one. Are you guys happy with that one? I'm happy with that one. Are you guys happy with that one? If you're happy, give me a thumbs up before we move on to the next one. Yeah, I'm just waiting for a thumbs up, guys. All right, guys. Yeah, now let's move on to the next one. Can you calculate for me the inflation between 2009 and 2010 and 2009? What is the level of inflation there? Let's quickly calculate for me the level of inflation between 2009 and 2010. Same way we did the previous one. $11.6. Yes, I'm happy with 11.6. I'm happy with 11.6. Let's do 2010 to 2011 now. An interesting one. Let's do 2011 to 2010 to 2011. Okay, I have negative 5.64. Let me wait for others. Yes, it definitely decreased. Still have the same answer there of, let me check. Still have the same answer of 5.65. Okay, 5.65 and 5.65. I think it's more or less in the same ballpark, but let me hear what you guys, let me see what others are saying. So it is 0. You have, okay, I'm getting answers of 5.6. Is everyone getting that negative 5.6? Let me see, where am I messing up? All right, let me check it one more time. Yes, 5.65 negative. I am happy with that. So I'm happy with this activity. Well done, guys. You guys appear to be knowing what's happening there. Are you guys comfortable with that one? Before I proceed, if you're happy, you can give me a thumbs up, but majority seem to be okay. As Ntabi saying, you have a hand up, go for it.
So I just wanted to find out something quickly. So
Yep.
now, if we find an answer like the one that we had previously,
Mhm.
11.6 or negative 5.64, do we round it off to the nearest or we keep it this way?
Yeah, in most cases, it's going to be two decimal places, but I will give you a heads up as to, I'll give you a specific instruction as to how many decimal places you can leave your answer at. But in most cases, it should be to two decimal places. Are you guys
Okay.
comfortable? Are you comfortable with that one?
So now, in case we come across a situation whereby we have a negative answer, do we write it as a negative 5.64%, or we just say 5.6%, just like I see there's someone who said in bracket decreased. how do we answer a negative?
Yeah, just put the
equation?
negative. Like how Katiso did and the Hans, just negative 5.64. Are you comfortable with that one? Any question, guys, before I move on? If you are good to go, give me a thumbs up. Yes, Lesejo, go for it.
Hi, sir.
Yes.
I wanted to ask because there were points where I got lost. I didn't hear you. You said the formula is the previous year minus
It's new minus old over old.
okay.
That's the formula. Are you comfortable with that one, Lesejo?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any questions, guys, before we move on? If you're good to go, give me a thumbs up. All right. Now we'll move on to the next section, whereby we're going to see how this ties in. We're going to look at what is called your real variables and nominal variables, because we normally calculate inflation in order for us to isolate the effects of inflation and to make sure that we get the real value of something. So this takes us to, okay, before we get to the real values, let's look at what makes up your CPI basket. So this is an example of your course that we looked at in the previous slides, where we talk of food, we talk of food, alcoholic beverages, clothing. You can see the relative portions that each take from your CPI index. And also there you can see we have a producer production price index. So this measures the price cost of firms and it influences the cost of production for firms. So if you want to look at what is the percentage change in the producer costs, that will be the index to look into there. So something important to note. So we look at the PPI, which measures the cost of production, the changes in the cost of production for producers. There are some problems encountered in measuring inflation in the sense that it is difficult to accurately determine. We have hundreds of products and changes in consumer patterns. So inflation on its own is an average. It doesn't really tell us about the cost of living of specific groups. It also doesn't tell us about the quality of products. It is just an average. So it doesn't tell us much about the cost of living of specific groups. And it tells us nothing about the quality of products. So inflation is difficult to accurately determine. It's a problem. So we have to bear in mind that we have hundreds of products and changes in consumer patterns. Also, it is an average, tells us nothing about the specific groups. So that's the limitation when you measure inflation. And your CPI as well is based on advertised products. It does not really tells us much. It does not take into account the discounts. So those are some of the limitations that you have when you talk about measuring inflation. They're mentioned there. So some of the challenges encountered even as you try to ascertain what the inflation level is. As well, we must distinguish between nominal and real, which is what I was talking about. So what is a real variable? We take a nominal variable, we divide it by price, but you will see later on, when you talk about your calculating the real values, we will take the nominal variable, we will divide it by 1 plus a level of inflation. So the whole point of calculating the inflation is to say the real variable divided by 1 plus inflation level, that gives us the nominal variable rather, divided by 1 plus inflation, that gives us the real variable. So that's how we calculate our real variable there. So something worth noting there. All right, so we are going to have a formula for calculating our real variable, which is the nominal variable divided by 1 plus inflation. So your nominal variable, this is your variable expressed at market conditions, like maybe the price of goods expressed at market prices. So obviously, the challenge then becomes with your nominal variables, it just gives you the market price. It doesn't take into account the level of inflation. So with your real variable, it is the nominal variable having been adjusted for inflation. And how do we adjust for inflation? We take the nominal variable, we divide it by 1 plus inflation. That gives us the real variable. So your real variable, it has been adjusted for inflation, while your nominal variable has not been adjusted for inflation. So something good to note there. We will do a few exercises in the last, we're approaching the end of our class. You'll see we'll do a couple of examples. We were calculating the real variables of items there. Then we have the history of inflation in South Africa, how it has increased over time. I won't spend too much time on that one. Then we look at South Africa Consumer Price Index inflation, which increased there. As you can see in the diagram, it went down to 4.5% in March, and in April it was 4.4%. So that's historic annual consumer price inflation there. Then a few definitions before we get into our calculation. There's what is called headline inflation, which is the one that we just calculated, where we said this is the inflation based on your consumer price index. Then there's a phenomenon called disinflation. When inflation rate declines, the general prices still increase, but at a slower rate. Then you have hyperinflation, where inflation rate increases so fast that money becomes worthless. So we have countries that have experienced like ridiculous figures of more than 1,000% increase in inflation. That is called hyperinflation. Then you have what is called deflation, which is the persistent decrease in the general price level. So those are some of the key definitions that we need to know. Inflation, hyperinflation, and deflation, very important definitions that we need to know there. Then, now, these are questions that I can ask you in a theoretical setup. So you need to be able to define these levels of inflation. Yes, Emmanuel, you have a hand up, go ahead. Yes, what do you want to say, Emmanuel?
I wanted to ask whether is there a country where there was a physical experience of inflation.
I'm not
I know of
sorry about
I
that.
know of
I'm
hyperinflation.
I'm not hearing you clearly. Yeah, I don't know what's up with your speaker, but I'm not hearing you clearly. You can start afresh.
I don't know what's wrong with my microphone,
Yes,
but
now
then
I can.
I wanted to
Mm.
ask whether is there any practical example of a country where it has experienced a deflation? I know of a hyperinflation whereby in Zimbabwe it once
Mm.
experienced such, but then I
Mm.
never heard of a deflation.
In terms of practical, the thing is, yeah, it's normal. Yeah, I wouldn't find the practical example because in most cases it's rare to find countries where producers actually reduce the price. So even if the cost of production drop, prices tends to producers tend to keep the products even if the cost of production decrease. Producers tend to maintain their price level. So in a practical setup, it's rare to find what you call it, producers reducing the prices of products. So as a result, I think you're correct in saying that, yeah, it's difficult to find a practical example because even when prices do fall, you don't see, it's not a normal occurrence where producers can actually reduce their prices. I think you're correct on that one. Are you comfortable there with that one? All right. Now let's move on. Let's move on to the next one. I think there are a few examples that we do before we finish. So this is our activity. So let me take you through. Yeah, I wanted you, okay, since you have, let me take you through that example. I would have liked you to calculate it, but let me take you through that one. So this is based on these values. All right, so what you can do on your end, guys, can you just quickly calculate for me the level of inflation between 2002 to 2003, almost like the previous example that we did, and also calculate the level of inflation from 20x3 to 20x4. Yeah, can you quickly do that for me before we get on to the calculations there? So calculate level of inflation between 20x2 and 20x3, then 20x3 and 20x4 before we move on. And you can post the answers before we go on to the final part. Yeah, you can type the answers there for those inflation level. Okay, we have two answers there. Let me wait for others. All right, let me cross check. So there's somebody with 6.58. Remember I said for 2 years, so you need to give me one for 20x2, 20x3, and another one for 20x3, 20x4. So I'm waiting for two figures, guys, there. So you need to give me two figures there. All right, I have two answers there from Asive and from Fisogutle. Let me confirm them. Yes, the answers are correct there. It's 4.2, it's 6.2 rather, and 4.99%. Fisogutle, are you able to take us through what you did there? I'm happy with your answers. How did you go about it? Just explain it to the other guys before we move on. If you're able to take us through with what you did. Oasive, can you take us through what you did?
Okay, so with the first one, we have to say the new CPI minus the old one, which for 20x3, we're going to say 106.2 minus 100 divided by 100 and then multiply by 100. And then we get 6.20%.
Yes.
With the fourth one, the second one, we're going to say new minus old divided by old and then multiply by 100. So we're going to say 111.5 minus 106.2, and then we divide by 106.2 multiplied by 100, and then we get 4.99%.
All right. I'm happy with that. That's excellent. We've done. Now you take those figures, we bring them to this example. So the first example is you bought some financial stock for 20,000 at the beginning of 20x4. What is the real value of this financial stock at the end of 20x4? So if you want the real value of that stock at the end of 20x4, you first of all need to calculate the level of inflation. So in this example, it was rounded off to the nearest whole number. I wouldn't want you to do it like this, but in my slides, it was rounded off to the nearest whole number, which is 5%. Ideally, I would like you to keep it at 4.99%. With that being done, you take the 20,000, you divide by the level of inflation, which is 4.9%. So it's 1 plus 4.99%, or you can put 0.0499. Still the same. So it is 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%. And your answer there should be 19,049. So if you divide by 1 plus 4.99%, you get 19,049. If you use 1.05, which is a rounded up figure, you get an answer which is slightly off. So if you keep it to two decimal places, that'll be fine, not to the nearest whole number, as you can see there. But punch it in your calculator and confirm. Just take 20,000 divided by 1 plus the level of inflation that we got, which is 4.99%. The reason why you're using that, it is because you want to see what is the real value at the end of 20x4. You bought it at the beginning of 20x4. You want to calculate the value at the end of 20x4. So you use inflation between 20x3 and 20x4, which is 4.99. That is what you take. So you take 20,000, divide by 1 plus 4.99%. That gives you the real value of 19,049 at the end of 20x4. Just confirm it, guys. Take 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%, and let me know what's the answer. Just confirm it. Don't just audit my slides. Just confirm it, punch it, and tell me what do you get there, so that you can see what I'm doing. If you're getting it, if it's coming out as 19,049, like I said, you can give me a thumbs up. So take 20,000, divide by 1 plus 4.99%, and tell me, and let me know what's the answer that you're putting there. Try it out before we move. Yes, Lesejo?
Sir, how did you get the 1.05? The one
No,
that
like I said, this one is rounded up. I said you shouldn't follow that one. 5% has been rounded up. So the standard formula is to say 1 plus the level of inflation. So 4.99% was rounded off to be 5. And I said you shouldn't do that. I said you say 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%. Are you comfortable with that, Lesejo? Ntabise? Go ahead, Ntabise.
So I just want to find out that are we always gonna use 1?
Yes, 1 is the standard because you are discounting. It's 1 plus inflation. It's part of the formula. It's not because you are eating a one just for the fun of it. It's like when you're calculating the present value of something, you will say, yeah, let's say the cost of capital when you're calculating NPV, for example, is 7%. You would take the future receipt, divide by 1 plus the cost of capital. If it's 7%, you say 1,07. So when you are discounting something, it's 1 plus the level of inflation. Are you comfortable with that, Ntabise? All right. Are you sure with your answer, Katiso Zongo there? If you take 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%, are you getting that answer? It should be less than that one. Yeah, I think there is an answer there. I see there. When you take 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%, you should get 19,049. So the real value will always be less than the nominal value because we are discounting. We are saying if you reduce the effects of inflation, this is what your real value is. So as a consequence, we expect your real value to be slightly lower than the nominal value. Are you guys comfortable with that? Before I move to the next question, the last one. Are you guys good with that one? All right. So the last example there. Okay, Emmanuel, you're not happy. There's a no there. Yeah, you can go ahead. Talk to me. What is the matter? You can talk to me, Emmanuel. What is the matter there? What part should I repeat? What you want me to repeat, Emmanuel? Yeah, just be specific on what you want me to repeat. What exactly do you want me to repeat?
So my apologies. I had a network problem while you were starting the calculation of this part, you know.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm saying there, Emmanuel, is you calculate the level of inflation. I did give you guys time to calculate the level of inflation, which I said was 4.99%. So to get the real value, you will take 20,000, which is the nominal value. You divide by 1 plus the inflation level, which is 1 plus 4.99%. And if you do that, you get an answer of 19,049.43. So the formula is a 1 because you are discounting, you're trying to remove the effects of inflation. And I also said the real value is always less than the nominal value because the real value, you've taken out the effects of inflation. So as a consequence, it should always be less than the nominal value. Are you comfortable with that, Emmanuel? Yes, Leboha, go ahead.
Good evening, sir. So I'm not getting the like the 19.04 something. I'm getting 2004,
Did you
20,000.
divide 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%? Did you divide?
Yes, I did. I tried the one where it's straight like 20,000 divided by 1 plus 499, and also the one where it's under, but still I'm getting the same. I'm getting different answers that are
It
way
looks like you
above 20.
multiply there. So you put a bracket. Remember, 1 plus, it's in a bracket. So
Oh,
when you are punching it, you are punching it like this. Let me display my screen. Let me see if I can open my screen. Maybe it is how you are punching it in your calculator. That is sort of making you see flames there. Let me see if I can display it in a manner that you can see it. So this is how you'd punch it. You take 20,000 divided by 1 plus 4.99%, or you can say 20,000 divided by 1 plus 0.0499. The net effect is still the same. So punch that and let me know what you're getting there. Can you quickly punch that and let me know? What are you getting there? I think
yes,
probably
I
what
got
you
it
punch.
right. I got it right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it was how you were punching it. That was the problem there. Any other questions, guys, before we move on to the last one? Before I take you through the last one, if you're comfortable, give me a thumbs up there. Before I take you through the last example for the day. All right, perfect. Now let's go on to, let me display my screen. So I'd already asked you to calculate the inflation level of 20x2 and 20x3. All right, so we were here. So this question is saying, assume you bought some financial stock from some financial stock for 40,000 at the beginning of 20x2. What is the real value at the end of 20x4? So now you have 2 years. That's the difference. You have 2 years from 20x2, 20x3, and 20x4. So you add those two inflations that you calculated, or you can calculate the level of inflation between year 1 and year 2, year 20x2 and 20x3, using this. Using this, you will see that your level of inflation is probably going between 20x2 and 20x4. It's 11.5%, because you see 115 minus 100 divided by 100, which you get 11.5%. Then to compute the real value, you see 40,000 divided by 1 plus 11.5%, you get an answer of 35,874. So can you punch that one and let me know if you're getting it? Take your 40,000 divided by 11, the 40,000 divided by 1 plus 11.5%, and let me know what's the answer that you're getting there. Can you try that one out? Let's see. 40,000 divided by 1 plus 11.5. You try that one and let me know if it's working out.
Sorry, sir. I wanted to ask, is it 11.5 or it's 1.115?
It's 11. It's 11.5. Yeah, let me, yeah, Sinkosi, you have an answer. All right, let me wait for more. Trust. All right. The correct answer there, it is indeed 35. Yeah, it's verified like that. So when you do these calculations, always remember, guys, you calculate the level of inflation, then you take the nominal value, you divide by 1 plus the level of inflation. Are you guys comfortable with that one? If you are, give me a thumbs up. All right. So further practice, try these ones. You can try these ones on your own. There's another one which is slightly different, like question 4, but try these ones out. I think we'll pick it up from this question in our next class. We ended there with my bunting group, so try these ones as well. It gives you it. They're quite interesting. It's different. It says they test different types of calculations, but almost the same vein. So you can try this slide out. Then in our next class, we can pick it from that slide. Now, are there any questions, guys, before I end our class? Are there any questions? Are you guys good? Do you guys have any questions? Are you guys comfortable with the content that we did today? If you are, you can give me a thumbs up. Are there any questions? If you have a question, you can raise your hand up. So it's either hand up or a thumbs up. Yes, you did. You said 1 plus 1.15. Then it became 1 comma 11.5. You did add 1. Do we have a class register code? If since it's online, Emmanuel, I'm just gonna extract the attendance list from this chart. So that's fine. All right, this is where we started the CPI. Yeah, what's your question regarding the CPI, Nkosi? What's your question regarding the CPI? So this is where we did the CPI. What's your question regarding that, Nkosi? So you started with the CPI? Yeah. So what's your question about the CPI, Nkosi? Let me come here. The change is just a formula like how you'd calculate an increase. I gave an example to say that if the price of a product, if it increases from 2 Rand to 4 Rand, how you calculate the percentage changes. The new price 4 Rand minus 2 Rand, the old price divided by the old price of 2 Rand, which gives you a percentage change of 100%. So how you calculate your normal, in normal cases, your percentage increase is the same way here, except that now we're dealing with CPI. So it is new CPI minus old CPI divided by initial CPI. So another example, if I say the price of a product increased from 5 Rand to 6 Rand, how you calculate your percentage change, you say 6 minus 5 divided by 5 multiplied by 100, which gives you a 20% increase. So like how you normally calculate your percentage increase, that is how you calculate the percentage change in CPI. Is that clear, Nkosi? So just how you do it normally, if you're given two prices and we see percentage change, that's how you do it. All right. Are there any other questions, guys? If you're good to go, you can give me a thumbs up. If you have a question, you can raise your hand up before I end class. So I will extract the attendance from, yes, Emmanuel?
Um, yes, I kind of had some issues that I wanted to understand.
Yes. Is it personal issues?
Uh, no, it's not personal issues. It's class related issues.
Yes.
So on our learner guide, it is mentioned that our class are on Monday, right? And
On your learner card, it says, or on the learner card, normally when I say class on Monday, that was in line with the time for the Pantin ones. But if you guys, I've noticed that you guys don't have a timetable as of yet. But if you guys want your class to be on Monday, I can put you together with the Pantin guys, if you prefer that. Do you prefer that?
yes, in regards to that, they say I will prefer in my side on my side I will prefer Monday. However, say regarding the physical contact classes, I think it's gonna be an issue for some of us while we are still big and we don't stay near the campus. Mostly we are funded, so it is difficult for us to come attend physical classes.
So with the test, how are you gonna handle it though, Emmanuel? Yeah, before I come
With
to
the
you in
test,
Tabsi.
I'm definitely gonna. Yeah, with the test, no, I have friends that side so that I can sleep a day before. So that one I'm okay with it.
Okay. Yeah, the face to face is to fine tune you and get you ready. Those who can come. I tell you, I would want everyone to be there, but those who can come because it'll be the final touches before we get your test. I can see Fiso is a hand up. Yeah, I tell I would want you all of you to come, but if you can't, if there's somebody who can record it for you, it's fine. But it would have been nice to have you there because we'll be doing final touches. Fisoguhle, you've end up quiet.
Good evening, sir. I wanted to find out what do you do? It's related to what we've done with the CPI. What do you do then if you got that negative answer as your inflation when it comes to that 1 plus as a denominator?
All right, that one was an illustration that sometimes the CPI can decrease, but I'm not going to give you that. But if you have a situation like that, it'll be 1 minus your answer. So actually, you're going to divide with a decimal because 1 plus 0.049, it gives you 1.04, so you'll be discounting. But if it's a negative, it means you'll be dividing by 0.9 something, so your answer will be greater than, for argument's sake. But I won't give you a situation where it is negative and you have to say 1 minus that. It's highly unlikely that I can trick you that far. Right? All right, guys. Yes, and Dabi saying, you've end up. Go ahead.
So I would like to add on what Emmanuel was saying, but actually it's a suggestion. I'm not sure if it can be granted.
Mhm.
Is it possible that on the APK, is it APK or APB? I'm not sure.
APB.
Yes, classes on Monday. As much as it seems like a student from that side are winning in attending in campus. Is
It
it
was
possible?
only it was only one. It was only one that face to face. The other ones going forward, just to clarify, are going to be revision workshops where I have everyone, APB, as well as you guys on one venue. So with regarding to that revision workshop, I'm gonna make an announcement. It's probably gonna be on a weekend, maybe 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning. Yeah, the first one I have it at APB. Then if the second one I do try to have it at DFC. So it will be everyone together for that revision workshop. And for that one, that is where I have everyone together. It's not like it's going to be a frequent thing where we're going to have face to face. Like I did say in our first class, we are going to have these workshops before you write. That's going to be face to face, but the majority of the classes are going to be online. So the next section, you're going to be together in one venue with the APB guys, which is tentatively 8th, but I'll make an official announcement of it the week before you write your test one. Did I
Oh,
answer your question there, or you still have a question?
not really.
All right, let's go. What do you want to say?
Basically, I wanted to find out that all our classes, excluding the workshops, will be online.
Mhm.
Will they be online or it will be in campus beside the
Uh,
workshops and the
yes,
assessments that we'll be writing?
workshop and assessments are going to be face to face. Everything else is going to be online.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, it's meant to be hybrid. I don't know why they don't really tell you guys, but it's meant to be hybrid. They should specify when you register, but I will cater for you guys and make it the other classes online. The only thing is the workshops and the tests that are going to be face to face and the exams. Those are the only things that are going to be face to face. But it is a hybrid module of which they were supposed, I don't know how they do it, but they were supposed to tell you that, guys, you're supposed to be on campus. Yes, Debohang?
It's about the textbooks, eh? It do, do you do you know if you can find it in the library? Because it's very hard for us to buy textbook around this time. We don't have the funding. It's like there's a lot going on. So can we find it in the library or somewhere
Yes,
else?
you can find it on the library. Others are working class. You can negotiate with your classmates. There's a working class. They can buy it. But I'm kidding. It is there at the library. If you go to the library, you can get it. I think they should be there. You can check it out in your library. It should be there. Right?
Okay, so thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Are we all happy? If we are, give me a thumbs up before I end class. Any other questions, guys? All right, guys. If there are no further questions, do have a lovely evening. I shall see you guys next Thursday. Remember to get the textbook and practice that last activity that I said you should do. So that's your homework. All right, guys. See you next Thursday. Have a lovely evening. Yeah, our class is done, Lifa. Our class is done, eh?